Okay, so let's go over some challenges to do with pseudocode. So I'm going to ask you to start off with to create some code for score. And I want you to assign that the value of 4. Pause the video, give it a go. Okay, in Python, if we assign a value, we use equal sign. In pseudocode, we use an arrow. Easy peasy. Okay, I want to say an if statement that if the score does not equal 4, say hello. Pause the video, do that in pseudocode. So if we were doing this in Python, we would do something like this: score equals 4. For example, this could be any value. I'm just making this up. If score does not equal 4, print hello. That would be my Python version. How would this look in pseudocode? You use an arrow. 4 equals score. If it doesn't equals, we do that. This sign here doesn't equals. Instead, print output, and finally end if. Every if needs an end if, and that would be that in pseudocode. So how would I say? So if imagine we were to do this whole task again. If the score equals 4, say hello. Pause the video, give it a go. In Python, we would do if score double equals 4, print hello. In pseudocode, we don't need 2 equals, so it'll be if score equals 4. Obviously, we're using output. You actually don't need brackets either, so I'm just going to do output hello with speech marks. End if. Okay, pretty easy so far. Let's build on it slightly. I would like to display a message saying hello 100 times. So display hello 100 times. Create code which would do that in pseudocode. So if I was doing this in Python first, and this is what I recommend you to do, I've told you this before, do it in Python, then turn it into pseudocode, if you're not that strong with pseudocode. I'm going to do it as a for loop to begin with, so let's do it in black first. Black is Python. For I in range 100 ... print hello. So we've done a count controlled loop, a for loop, a count controlled loop. What would this look like in pseudocode? Instead of I, I'm going to do index. We normally use the whole word. I actually stands for index. So I'm going to use the full word index. Instead of doing in range, I'm going to take out the in range and do an arrow. And then I'm going to say start on 1 and go to 100. So that is for index arrow 1 to 100. Don't need brackets, so let me get rid of these brackets. So for index 1 to 100, output, don't need brackets, hello, and finally next index. This will mean that I will go up by 1 every time. That is what makes I go to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 7 to 8 to 9, blah 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 blah. You could also do this as a while loop 100 times. How would we do that? Let's do it in Python first. I'm just trying to forget my bearings. Let's do it here. Let's do count equals 1. While count is, we can say less than 101, because we want to do it 100 times. So whilst count is less than 101. Print hello. And then we're going to do count equals count plus 1. Nice and easy. In pseudocode, count equals 1. Whilst count is less than 101, we don't need these two dots. I'm going to write the word do. No print output. No brackets. Output hello. Count arrow. Count plus 1. And then an end while to say our loop is finished. This would be our preconditioned loop. This will do it 100 times as well as with this. But let's try it with one more loop. We can also do it with a repeat loop. You can't do a repeat loop in Python. So let's do it in pseudocode. Count equals 1. Repeat. Output hello. And then we're going to do count equals count plus 1 until count equals 100. So you've got repeat, you've got your for, you've got your while. All three of these do this. The one I would use would be the for loop. Easy, simple, and its purpose is count control. Let's take it to the next level. Let's do an array. I'm going to have an array of scores. And I want it to equal, I'm going to have 4, 2, 1, 3. What we're going to do is we're going to output each one of these. Pause the video, give it a go yourself first. Okay, if I was doing this in Python, this is what I would do. I would do for I in range. I would do either 1, 2, 3, 4 and say 4, or I'd do length of scores. So len scores dot dot. I'll then do print scores I. If I'm turning this into pseudocode, let's have a look. For index from 1 to, so that should be about, I missed the arrow here. So let's undo this for a second. For index arrow 1, 2. Instead of len scores, get rid of brackets to start with, there you go. Instead of len, in pseudocode it's length. That's what len stands for, length. So let's do that in red. That's fine. Or I can say from 1 to 4. But I'm going to keep it at length. Instead of print, it's going to be output. Don't need the brackets, don't need the brackets. What I do need to do is change this. This needs to match this. If I called this count, this needs to be called count. They need to match as it would in Python. So I'm going to do scores index. There you go. And then I'm going to do next index. And we are done. If I was to work out the average of these numbers, I would first do it in Python. Pause the video, try it yourself first, work out the average. of those scores. So in Python, I would do for I in range, and I'm going to do 4. I'm then going to do, before this, have a total. I want my total to equal my total plus whatever's inside scores position I. So we're going to add that to that to that to that in the end. So it's going to give us the number 5, 7, 10. Awesome. I'm then going to, at the end, do an average. So I'm going to do AVG, which means average, equals total divided by 1, 2, 3, 4. I could also do total divided by len of scores, which would also be 4. Print AVG. So let's turn this into pseudocode. Total equals 0 for index. For I, I'm going to do arrow 1, 2, 4, or I could do length of scores. Total equals, we're signing this into this using totaling. Average equals total divided by not len scores, length of scores. And instead of print, I'm going to do output, no brackets, and obviously no either. Output average. Finally, I do need to do, at the end of my for loop, next index. So this will keep repeating. Once it's done its total, so we've added this up, this will be 10, it'll finish the loop, and we'll calculate our average. This has to be outside the loop. We then output it. Okay, let's change the scenario again. We've got an array called names. This array has got 3 spaces, which have got, well, 3 empty spaces. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Bless me. Okay, so we've got 3 spaces, which are empty. There's nothing in there, but we know that there are 3 spaces. We can see that space 1, 2, 3. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to put into here 3 different names like Ben, Joe, Sally. But we need to do that based on the user input. So the user enters in their own 3 names. Gives a go in Python or pseudocode. Pause the video. Okay, say if we did this in Python. I now need to do this 3 times, so I'm just going to simply do a for loop. I'm then going to do type in a name, not names, name equals input. And then we're going to do enter name. I'm then going to do names I equals whatever I've just typed in. So if I type in Ben, it'll put it into position 0. So Ben will go in there, then it loops again, I goes to 1. If I type in Joe, it'll go into position 1. It loops again for the 3rd time. Then it'll put it into position 2 the next name. That's as simple as that. We do not use append, because what does append do? Append will basically do this. It makes more spaces. This means our array now is 4 spaces. We've already got our spaces put in, so we're just putting something inside of this space. It's like having a car park, a parking lot. It's basically putting a car inside position 0, then putting a car into position 1, then putting a car into position 2. That's what we're doing. We're not adding more spaces. We're just using the spaces what we've got, which are currently or vacant or empty. So how would we do this in pseudocode? This is where it is slightly different. We obviously would have our for loop. We'd obviously change this to index. We'd obviously, you should be experts at this now, have an arrow. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Although I don't really need to do that 3 again, but so let's get this. There you go. What I don't need to do is this. So I'm going to get rid of the input name, enter name line. That goes goodbye. I'm going to get rid of this as well for now. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to do an input command to let someone type in. I'm going to get them to type in directly into names, position, index. So we type in something here, so let's say like Joe, and it directly puts it into here. So we don't need to put it into a variable first. We're directly putting it into here. I'm then going to do next index, and that's it. We've entered in 3 names. Okay, that's great. Let's give another scenario. Okay, I want you to pause the video and have a look at this scenario, which I'm moving around really quickly, making me feel sick. Don't try it yet, but we're going to try and do this in pseudocode. Okay, so I'm hoping you've given it a read. First of all, let's look for common similarities. These are all information about buses, so this is all similar. This, the day, is irrelevant at the moment, so I'm going to cross it off. We don't need it at the moment. So we've got bus 1, bus 2, bus 3, bus 4, bus 5, bus 6, 6 different buses. Each bus will have numbers entered into them based on the days of the week, but as I said, the days of the week are pretty much irrelevant in terms of anything at the moment. Why? Well, I'll go through that in a second. So we've got options. If we want to set this up so the user can type in their own data or use this data, so for bus A we can type in 0002240. We need to set up an array. So we can set up multiple arrays, so we can do bus A, and I'm going to do, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 20 spaces. So bus A equals, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, oh my god, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Wow, those zeros are all different sizes, but who cares? So I'm saying I've got 20 empty spaces at the moment. 0 is representing just a space to match for 20 days here, because this would be my Monday 1, this would be my Tuesday 1, my Wednesday 1, my Thursday 1, the next one would be my Friday 1. So I'm just doing it that each space represents a day. I can then do the same for bus B. Let's just cheat a little bit. Let's see if this will work. Oh, come on, man. There must be like a really good copy and paste feature for this. Oh, really? Can't I just drag? I am... Oh, does that let me drag? Hello? Hello, I just found a new feature. Copy, paste. What? Let's try this again. Duplicate. Come on, that must have duplicated. What is going on? Duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. That should duplicate. There you go. That's hard work. And then we can set it up for bus B. Obviously in your exam you can't duplicate. I can't edit either, apparently. So let's just call this bus B, etc. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing this would be as a 2D array. Really simple. We would have one array called bus. So let me just show you 2D array underneath. I'm going to go dot 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 dot. We'll make an array called bus. We'll make it equals 2. And we'll do bus A to begin with. We don't need to write bus A. We just know that the first row would be bus A. And it'll be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, until we get... Imagine I've just done 20. So that is bus A. Bus B, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Bus C. And let's imagine I've done all the buses. So it's my final, let's say that's bus F. So there you go, I've just made a 2D array. Up to you which one you do. You can have lots of 1D arrays, or you can do it like this. Okay, so we set it up, but we now need to let the user type in their own data for each bus, for each day. So, whether we do it as a 2D array or whether we do it as a 1D array, the process is the same. We need to go through each bus, so bus 1, bus 2, bus 3, bus 4, bus 5, and then we also need to do it for each day. So the user gets to type in an input. Or whether it's in a 2D array, we want to start on bus 1, then go to bus 2, bus 3, so it's the same sort of process. So I want to loop the amount of buses we've got. So I'm going to do a for loop. If I'm doing this in Python, it would be for I in range, and how many buses do I have? I've got 1 bus, 2 bus, 3 bus, 4 bus, 5 bus, 6 bus. So that is our rows. Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. So that is what the outer loop is going to do. It's going to go through our rows. Now I'm going to do this as a 2D array first. So this code here is going to be connected to the 2D array. I'll then do separate code for if you do it as a 1D array. So we're going through bus A, then bus B, then bus C. We now need to go through each day. So I'm going to do this as another for loop for X. In fact, I can call these my own names to make it easier. I'm going to call this for bus, and I'm going to call this for day. So this is going to be in charge of going through the different buses. This is going to be in charge of going through the different days. In range, and I think there is 20 days. Was it 20, 40? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think there's 20 days. So I'm going to do 20. So we're going to go through each bus, each day. And we're simply going to ask the user to enter in the data. Now we can make this really pretty by giving the user, telling the user which bus they're currently on. But I'm not going to, I can't be bothered with that. Let's just go straight for the nitty-gritty. So I'm going to say, I think this is how many minutes late. So I'm going to call this min late. So the user is going to type in how many minutes late each bus is. Equals int input, and then going to do bus. I'm an idiot because I've given these the same name, so I'm going to call this buses. I can't call this variable the same as this array. So bus, and then in my brackets, I'm going to have the current bus I'm on, and the current day I'm on equals minutes late. And there we go. So if we type in 4, so if we type in 4 here, it means that bus 0, which is bus A, on day 0, which is Monday 1, was 4 minutes late. So it's going to change that, and it's going to say it's 4 minutes late. So that's all we need to do, because this task just sets user arrays and must be possible to enter data using suitable prompts. Great. I should have given an input message, so let's give a message in input, and let's do a little message. How many mins late? Okay. How do we do this in pseudocode? Well, this is already in pseudocode, this array. So let's move it on. 4 buses, I can keep that as it is. Then we're going to do our arrow 1, 2, 6 for day, arrow 1 to 20. I'm going to get rid of these brackets and put the 20 back in. Okay, I'm going to make some changes here, because remember what we did last time when we did something like this? go here. Get rid of this. I'm going to do an output first. My message is going to be enter how many minutes late. I'm then going to do my input. Remember, to put something into an array, input, and then the name of my array. I don't need to give a variable. The name of the array is bus. In position, buses, and then the current day. So for day 0, bus 0, we're going to type in a number. We don't need to use int input either. I'm then going to do next day, so that the day has a chance to go up by 1. So it'll then move on to this day. It'll then move on to this day, then this day, then this day, then this day, and then this day. And then I would do next buses. And that's it. Done. That is my task 1 done for this little challenge. But how would we do it with a 1D array? So let me get rid of all of this. So let's go to the 2D arrays. So we've got bus A, bus B, etc. Let's do it in Python first. At any point, remember you can pause the video, keep that in mind if you want to try things yourself. Okay, so we're going to loop through 20 days. So I'm going to do for I in range 20. Remember, I'm doing this in Python first. I'm not going to say I want to loop through these buses because we can just directly talk to those buses. What do I mean by that? Watch. This is going to get quite big because I'm doing it as a 1D array. So I'm going to do bus 1 late equals int input enter how many mins late for bus 1. I'm then going to do, so bus 1 is bus A, so let's call it bus A. But I can't, yeah, bus A late. Okay, cool. I'm then going to do bus A I equals bus A late. So it's going to start here for bus A. I type in a minute. Let's say it's going to be 2 minutes, and it'll change that. It'll then loop again. I'll enter minutes late, so let's say 4 this time. But I will be on this one this time. So if I enter in 4, it'll go into that, and it'll do blah, 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 blah. But what about bus B? Well, we're going to do it again for bus B here, so we need a separate input for bus B. And I'm going to do, come on, let's try my little trick of copy and paste. Yep. Come on. We've got this, we've got this, we've got this. Seriously, go away. Let's try it from the bottom up. Genius. Duplicate. Let's put this here underneath here and change this to bus B. So let's get rid of this because it's getting messy and change it to bus B. And change this to bus B and change this to bus B. And then I'm going to do it again for bus C. So I'm going to do this for every bus, but let's imagine this is bus F. I'm at the end because I can't be bothered to do the whole thing. Why? Because I'm lazy. No, I'm not lazy. I've just got things to do. I'm going to get a haircut. Yeah. Way to go, haircut. Okay. So imagine you've got all of these for all the different buses because we're not doing it as a 2D array, we're doing it as a 1D array. So how do we change this into pseudocode? In the exam, I would have only done it for one bus and then in Python and then changed it all to pseudocode after. Otherwise you have to change the whole thing. So for index 1, 2, 20. Yeah, we know the drill by now. So boom, boom. Bus A late. We're going to use an arrow. No, we're not. Because remember, when we do this, we simply need to do our output message, like we did before. How many minutes late? I think my handwriting gets progressively worse when I do this. Okay, and I'm going to do my input, bus A, that's an A by the way, index, and I've done that for bus A. So it's a lot easier to do in pseudocode. I just repeat this process for each bus. So I do it again, output. That's why I'm saying if you did it for bus A first in Python, then turn it to pseudocode, you can just copy the rest quite easily. How many minutes late? Input bus B this time in position index. Let's imagine that this is bus F. So we've done it right at the end. Happy days. What do we need after this? We need a next index. And we are done. Happy days indeed.